On today's episode of Trey on Tour, it's been breaking news. It says Walking Tall murder. State investigators believe Walking Tall sheriff murdered his wife 58 years ago. That was released this morning by the TBI. Fox 13 Memphis has released it on their page. And my friend Mike Elam, this fella right here, he is a retired police officer from Arkansas. He was a big fan of Buford Pusser, but like the spa guy and myself, he researched this guy's life and dug into this guy's life and met people that was a part of the story and conducted interviews and investigated and gathered evidence. Mike is the guy that made the phone call to the TBI after finding the gun that he believed was used in this story with Pauline Pusser. TBI took his phone call and they investigated, and it led to the breaking news today. They believe that Buford Pusser killed his wife. So stay tuned today on this episode because I go to another Buford Pusser location in Corinth, Mississippi at the state line where he also killed the owner of the Shamrock Motel, Louise Hathcock. It was supposed to be in self-defense. Mike tells you his version of it through the interviews that he conducted and the evidence that he's gathered. It's quite fascinating. With this breaking news today, we explore another story with one of the most iconic sheriffs of all times, Buford Pusser. Walking tall. So is there more to this story than meets the eye? Stay tuned to learn the story. It's going to be good. All right, I'm showing you this photo of the Shamrock Motel because here at the Shamrock Motel, a very interesting, important, and iconic, and really kind of a mystery kind of story took place that we're going to explore about today on this episode. Here at the Shamrock Motel, February the 1st, 1966, the owner of the Shamrock was shot and killed by one of the most iconic sheriffs of all time, Buford Pusser. Yeah, the man from Walking Tall that had a movie made after him. So how the story goes at this motel that I'm showing you right now, Buford Pusser shows up after a call that items had been stolen from a couple from Illinois. They called the sheriff. Buford Pusser shows up over here, and at this Shamrock Motel that I'm showing you, which was located right here once upon a time, it's not there anymore. The restaurant used to be there. The rooms used to be right there. And we're about to go over there and explore. But in room 1 is where the story went down. And, well, let's learn about it. Happened right there, once upon a time. So how the story goes is there was a couple from Illinois that pulled in here to the Shamrock to get a room. I think they paid like $15 or $14.50 or something for the room. And they go to the restaurant. Restaurant was right over here where these trees are all grown up. We're going to explore and see if we can see the foundation today. So they're at the restaurant and they get some food and order a drink. And I think the drinks were kind of watered down, so they kind of made a comment about that, hey, you know, didn't really taste good. So I'm going to watch my steps here. This is what you get on Trey on Tour. I like to go stand at the locations and tell you the story. So, they go to their rooms, right? They go to their rooms, guys. And this is the restaurant where I'm standing at. I'm standing inside the restaurant, and the way I know that is, here's the foundation at my feet. Look at there. See it? So after leaving here, they go to their rooms and they go to sleep. And the next morning they wake up and their money is stolen. The girl's purse is stolen. A few other items are stolen. Well, what happened was when they checked in here to the Shamrock, I think the guy had a rolls of money, like hundreds on him. And Louise Hathcock saw that, which was not a good thing for this fella from Illinois. So she sent one of her guys to the room to rob them. And that's what happened. They got robbed. They got robbed. So when they come back out, I'm watching every step. And I am on another part of the foundation right there. So I know I am in the right place. And I've had a guy that's really researched this out tell me, and look, there's a bed from the hotel still out here. From the motel, look at there. I don't know if somebody's sleeping out here or not. So they come to report the robbery here in the office, which I'm not sure if the office was here in this area or if the office was right over here to the right. It may have been right over here. In this area, because I believe the office is kind of adjourned with the girl's room, with Louise Hathcock's room. So they come into the office and report that they've been robbed, and she kind of gets mad at them. Well, the girl that had her purse stolen sees her purse behind the counter. And then she said, that's my purse right there. And that's when when Louise Hathcock went off on her, told them to get the hell out of here or they were going to get killed, that she would kill them. That's what the girl, that was her interview. That's what she said, that she was threatened to be killed. So they go right out over here in this area to a phone booth. Probably a little past that tree there in the distance. Just by what I saw a photo of where the phone booths were located on the left side of the building. If you're standing in front, it would have been on the left side. They called the cops, the sheriff. So, legendary sheriff, iconic sheriff, Buford Pusser travels over here, shows up at the Shamrock Motel that evening. Or I don't really know for certain what time of day it is, and I'll let you know right now here on this episode. So he shows up, and Louise Hathcock says, well, come with me to my room. Let's, we'll discuss this. So they go to room 1. And I'm going to walk here. I'm going to look for snakes everywhere. Please don't run into a snake. That might be Louise Hathcock's cup. Still out here all these years later. So, I'm watching, guys. I am watching. So they go to Louise Hathcock's room, which is somewhere over here, guys, just based off what I have been told. I'm going to try to get over there, but that looks like there's a thing right there. There's one of those old beer bottles right there hidden. Just like they used to be here. So somewhere out here was room 1, where she stayed at, Louise Hathcock. Buford Pusser goes to room 1, and how the story goes is the door closes. Well, they go into her room. The door doesn't shut all the way because she had some kind of clothes hanging on the door that caused it not to shut. And look, here is a foundation. So I believe I'm in the right place. Alright, so just picture her room. It was right off the office. And I was told it was right next to the restaurant, which was right over there. So the story is that he goes into the room and Louise Hathcock pulls out a gun from her gown and shoots Buford Pusser. And then Buford takes his gun and shoots Miss Hathcock 3 times. I believe in the shoulder, I believe in the waist area, and definitely the head. And Miss Hathcock dies here, in this area, in this location, once upon a time, in her room. February the 1st, 1966. Buford Pusser shot and killed Louise Hathcock right here at the Shamrock Motel. Now, listen to the version from a guy that has written a book called Buford Pusser, The Other Story. And he has researched this story for over 15 years and talked to people that were actually in room number 2, right beside her room, that fateful night. And he's talked to a lot of people that were around Buford, that were around this area, that ran other clubs and beer joints. And listen to what he said, he believes, based on an autopsy that he saw of Miss Hathcock. See what he thinks happened right here, February the 1st, 1966.
Motel office sat right there at the very first. And then, of course, you had room 1, which was Louise Hathcock's living quarters when she was there at the motel or at the restaurant, either one. She kept that room for herself. There, when you, if you do get a chance or you walk up there to where that foundation is, the first part of that is the motel office.
Okay.
And right behind the office part, there was a wall. And behind that wall was like a little living room and kitchenette, so that whoever was running the motel at any given time, that's where they could watch TV, fix something to eat, whatever, while if they were there, and just kind of enjoy their time, I guess. Right between the registration desk and where that living quarters was a hallway that went to room number 1. Now, you were asking about what all happened that day. The day before, a couple, George and Dorothy Vogel, from Illinois, were passing through. They were returning from a vacation to the Gulf Coast. And, of course, it's February, so the weather's not terribly predictable. And they had one of the worst ice storms that they had had in years up there. Well, at any rate, they decided that they would stop and stay at the Shamrock rather than try to keep driving. They went to the restaurant next door after they checked in, and they had dinner, sat in a booth, and then they returned to their room over there at the motel that was in Tennessee, where that driveway is in between them and in between the motel and the restaurant.
Yeah.
Well, the restaurant is actually in Mississippi, and the motel is in Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, because I see the sign right here where I'm parked at. I can see the sign.
Yeah, you can't hardly go by exactly where those signs are, because if you look at the one south of you, it'll show the Mississippi state line down there a little ways.
Okay.
But they're not exactly on the line, put it that way.
Okay.
At any rate, the next morning they woke up and said they felt like they'd been drugged, and Dorothy noticed her purse was missing, and it had her rosary, $125, and some personal items in it. So they go down to the motel office to report the purse missing. And they said that Louise Hathcock was intoxicated, and she threatened them and said she was going to kill them, is their story. And so they went out to a phone booth that sat out front and called the sheriff's office. Mm. Well, this was about 10:30, somewhere along in through there. A strange part of it being that Buford, Jim Moffitt is Buford's chief deputy, and P.D. Plunk, basically the entire full-time sheriff's department, show up with warrants for theft of possession of stolen property and one for alcohol. Well, when they walk in, they said that Louise was drunk and she knew she was in trouble. Pusser told her he was going to arrest her, and she was saying, well, why don't you come on back into my room, and I'll tell you what was going on here at the state line. Now, you have to keep in mind, at that time, a couple of things were in play. She was the state line at that point.
Okay. Yeah, I read that she was like the queen of the mob, or state line mob, or something like.
Yeah, that's what some people wanted to call her.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hold a lot of water because she wasn't the queen much. I mean, you know, her husband Jack was killed in 1964.
Okay.
Before Buford was sheriff. And I believe Towhead White did that, although she took the rap for it and said it was self-defense and nothing happened. But her nephew was in the room just seconds prior to gunshots because he heard commotion in there. And when he walked into the room through the adjoining door that connected rooms 1 and 2, because he was living there in room number 2, you know, he heard them arguing. He wanted to see if he could settle them down. He was 14 years old. His name was Bobby Anderson.
Okay.
And, you know, Louise tells him no 14-year-old boy is going to tell her what to do. She pushes him back into room number 2 and locks the door. And about that time, he hears gunshot. But while he was in the room, he saw Towhead White in there with him. Something that doesn't show up in the police reports or anything. And at any rate, so, you know, her husband Jack is dead. Towhead White, by this time that she was killed, he'd been in prison since September, you know, what, about 5 months previous to her being killed. And W.O. Hathcock, that owned the club where Buford allegedly got beat up, cut up, and left for dead.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Yeah.
He went out of business in early '64 when Alcorn County there in Mississippi pulled everybody's licenses for selling alcohol. I say everybody. Louise and the restaurant was the only one that got to keep a license.
Oh, so this place right here, okay.
Yeah.
So this was a jumping place back then, right here, where I'm at. Like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, W.O.'s place, if you turn around and look at the opposite direction from the where the restaurant is, you have your back to the restaurant, and then you look across the highway, and just to your right on the Mississippi side, that's where the Plantation Club stood. There's a clump of trees there now.
Yeah, I see it right now. I'm looking at it.
Okay. At any rate, by this time, Louise was all that was left of the state line. There wasn't anybody else. She was about to lose the Shamrock because she and Jack had got a divorce in September of 1957. She took the home there in Corinth. He kept the state line properties for himself, but he let her operate them. And they were just business as usual. As a matter of fact, family didn't know for a long time that they had gotten a divorce.
Oh, okay. Kept that secret.
What they didn't know, her and Towhead, because Towhead had moved in, and some people say that they were married. Some people say it was a common law situation. I can't find anything either way. Except that I do have some papers of hers, and I have them in my book, showing that she often used the name Louise White.
Okay, that's interesting.
And better yet, it was on her last driver's license and her last Social Security card. Her name is listed as Louise White.
Wow.
Now, you also have to keep in mind that she and Jack had an adopted daughter that lived there as well.
All right, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. This story gets really convoluted, but at any rate, when they got divorced and she was taking care of the properties, and operating them as they always had. She wasn't aware that Jack had not paid taxes for several years. And the IRS was getting ready to place a lien on the property and sell it if they didn't get the money that was owed to them.
Right.
Well, Buford knew this as well, and he also knew that she was alleged to keep large sums of money there at the place, something that I had verified whenever I interviewed her niece that lived there, Bobby's sister. Louise took care of a lot of family. Usually rooms 1, 2, and 3 were filled with family members.
Family members, okay. That's good to know. All right.
Okay. So, Buford, I think, was looking for an excuse to get in there and locate her money. And he wanted to do it before the IRS seized it, and it became federal property, because it'd be a whole lot tougher for him to get in there and search for it once it was federal.
Okay.
At any rate, that morning he goes down to answer this complaint. She invites him into her room, saying, "I'll tell you what all's going on here at the state line," and which made no sense since she was the state line. At any rate, he goes in. Now, there's 2 people back in that little dining room, living room, or kitchenette living room in the office. Now, they didn't have a view of anything, but they could hear Louise start begging for her life. And then they said that they heard Buford's .41 Magnum fire all the shots that were fired from it. They said that there were 4 shots. And then a little bit later, they heard the single pop from her gun.
From her gun.
Now, Buford's story was that she fired at him, tried to fire a second time, and the gun fell on an empty or a bad round. And she looked kind of panicked, and they gave him time to pull his gun and shoot her before she could fire another shot at him. But the 2 people in the back room said it was just the opposite way. They heard Buford fire first, and then heard the single pop from her gun, which went through a window right there and out, and the bullet landed in an awning that held up the awning over the driveway right there in front of the motel office.
Okay.
But Jim Moffitt, the chief deputy, was in the hallway, and he could hear what was going on, but he couldn't see anything. Petey was supposed to be in the office. There's different stories about Petey Plunk. Some say he was in the office. Some say that he was out by the telephone booth where the Vogels had called from.
And that was right. Well, that was right here on the side of the motel, right? It was a telephone booth at the motel.
No, it was right in front of the office.
Right in front of
out near the near the highway.
I see a photo of it. I'm looking at a photo of the office, so it would have been right over here to the right. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Now, of course, Buford would say, he had to shoot her. She had shot at him, tried to kill him, so he just returned fire and said his first shot nipped her in the shoulder, and second shot hit her in the torso and blew her heart out. And he never did talk about the shot to her head, that any information that I've got. Well, we got a hold of her autopsy report. And the shot that nipped her in the shoulder struck the posterior side and exited the anterior side, meaning he shot her from behind.
Interesting.
The shot that went through the torso entered right below and to the left of her left shoulder blade and exited under her right breast. And then the third shot was to her head, right in the left jaw, and exited the back of her skull. And it took some of her teeth and embedded them in the carpet, which would indicate that she was laying on the floor when he shot her the third time.
So yeah, she was dead at that point. She was already...
Well, I don't know how she would have survived the second shot.
Exactly.
but he shot her a third time in the head. Of course, we didn't know this until about 15 years ago, that there was an autopsy report that had been performed. I called the medical examiner that was involved with the autopsy, and he said, "Oh yeah," I said, "that's exactly how it happened."
Interesting.
And and I asked him, I said, "Well, why didn't any of this come out during the grand jury hearing?" Because they had a grand jury hearing so that they could basically, it's a whitewash thing is the way I look at it, because they wanted to clear Buford. And I was able to find one of the people that sat on the grand jury, and they said, "Well, we didn't see an autopsy report." Said the prosecutor showed us close-up photos and said, "None of us, were crime scene experts. We didn't know what we were looking at, so we just took his word for what he was explaining." And but he said, "We didn't see an autopsy report." Well, I asked Dr. Francisco about that, and he said, "Well, the criteria on an autopsy report back then, the protocol was we would do the autopsy there in Memphis.
Okay, in Memphis.
And then we would send the autopsy report to the prosecutor and to the local medical examiner, which was Harry Peeler, and said if they introduced the autopsy report in the grand jury hearing, said Dr. Peeler would be the one that would explain to the panelist what the autopsy report said. He was the one with the knowledge about that. And, he said apparently they didn't want to use the autopsy report for some reason. And, which kind of confirms your belief that it was kind of a whitewash thing by the prosecutor just to get Buford off.
Yeah, so
that's
why would they not want to use that? That's a great question, right? You heard the version that they tell, and you heard a version by a guy that actually has spent a lot of his time researching this story, finding documents and talking to a lot of people that were alive and lived and ran clubs around this area back then. There was the Shamrock, there was a club right there, the Plantation Club was right there where those trees are, and there's the sign for the Mississippi State Line. Actually, the Mississippi State Line is right here. So pretty much farther down from where this Tennessee line is where the Mississippi-Tennessee line is, because part of the restaurant at the Shamrock was actually in Mississippi. I'm in Mississippi, that truck's in Tennessee. That's how I can explain it.